Greetings, Cyberdogs and citizens of the Interbubs! This is ReNDoG coming at you in a very special Season 5 base tour episode from the Hermitcraft server. We need to begin today's episode, my friends, with a little bit of an apology. In the previous episode, Iskall and I got together and we started blowing up this section of ReNDoG Island to start working on a connection between the two sides. And I blew myself up and blew up all of my items. It was one of the derpiest moments in my Minecraft history. And I basically said in the video that I was going to quit Hermitcraft Season 5 because of what happened. Of course, for those of you guys who are old school ReNDoG fans, you'll know that the previous episode was in fact episode 69. And that usually means on the ReNDoG channel that I spend the episode trolling you guys a little bit. Usually on episode 69s in Minecraft series that I do, I blow up my base or something ridiculous happens. And in the previous episode, I actually wasn't planning on doing any trolling, but when I blew up my elytra, I took the opportunity to, well, do a little bit of a prank on you guys. So all of you guys who are maybe new to the ReNDoG channel and new to my sense of humor, I do apologize if I managed to scare you. I'm not quitting Hermitcraft, of course not, guys. It was just a prank, just a social experiment, if you will. Now, today, guys, I am super excited. This is something that I've been wanting to do in Season 5 all the way back since episode 50. I was wanting to do a base tour episode on episode 50, but, well, the ReNDoG brain forgot that it was episode 50, and we kind of missed the opportunity to do a base tour episode, and we're going to do that today on episode 70. I've spent the last few days on the Hermitcraft server getting some of my items back. You guys can see I'm on 105 levels. I've been grinding experience. I've remade my diamond helmet with aqua affinity and respiration so that I can get gravel from under the sea. I've made some new boots over here with feather falling 4, and I've put unbreaking onto my spare elytra. Still need to get some mending and stuff onto my tools though, which I guess we can do together in the next episode. Also made myself a couple of new pickaxes too, and luckily Fang the Third survived the derpiness of episode 69. Anyway, today, my friends, we are going to be going on a base tour. We're going to be taking an in-depth look into each of the things that we have built here in our Hermitcraft Season 5 base. We're going to start all the way from the beginning, go through each of these amazing buildings that we've managed to make over the last year or so, and I'm going to break it down for you guys exactly what all of these do. So if you're kind of new to the series or to the channel, this will be a great opportunity for you guys to catch up on where we are at right now in Season 5. And hey, listen, guys, I've got a bit of a favor to ask you. At the end of this base tour episode, why don't you let me know in the comments which of the builds on our base is your favorite? I'd really love to see that feedback from you guys, and I'd love to see how you guys feel about the base and which of these crazy contraptions you love the most. Anyway, let's get right into this thing, guys. Get yourself a tasty beverage, a crunchy frickin' snack. It's time for a base tour from the Hermitcraft server. Ladies and gentlemen, the ReNDoG base tour is about to begin. Please keep your paws and your flappy ears inside the vehicle at all times, as there will be sharp objects on this tour. Also, no flash photography. All right, everybody. Let's get cracking with today's base tour. Oh man, this is going to be so cool. What better place to start a base tour, of course, than in the Nether Hub of a Hermitcraft server. And here we are in the Season 5 Nether Hub. And as we know, every good Hermitcraft base needs some sort of a nether tunnel that is able to take you from your base to the Nether Hub and to the other parts of the server. And that's exactly what we've got cracking over here. We've got a packed ice boat tunnel that's going to take us all the way back to our base. But before we get to that, guys, this is a very important moment in the tour. I need to explain to you what the whole concept of our base is about. And we're going to get into the details a little bit later as we get into our base. But essentially, our base is sucking up power from the Nether in order to run. And this tunnel over here, known as the NETHERLOOP, is in fact the tunnel, or at least the pipe, the wire, if you will, that is supplying our base with nether power. And that's the idea behind this tunnel. And from the Nether Hub, it takes us all the way to this position. Hello, pigmen. You've not paid for the tour. You cannot come. And of course, here is our Nether portal that's going to take us to the base. So let's pop through into our base. And all of this talk about Nether power is going to become very clear in a moment, guys. This is our Nether portal, taking us to the Nether, of course, and back into our Hermitcraft 5 season base. And this base is known as the Netherboard. The concept for this base is that this is a giant motherboard, a computer motherboard system of some kind, and all of these different buildings over here are components of that motherboard. These roads over here are in fact the tracers that are running between the components, and those tracers are feeding Nether power into these components to power up our base. These tracers are made up of a very special component, or a very special element rather, known as uranium. And that is those magma cubes, of course, that run all the way through the base. And that uranium is pumping the Nether power out of that portal into our base. And we're going to kick the tour off with, I guess, the most important thing from a lore perspective for the base, the NETHERCOOL 3000, which is the name of our Nether portal. And that NETHERCOOL 3000 is cooling off that Nether power so that we can actually use it to power up our base. And that's what's happening around here. When we first started making this base, all the way back at the beginning of Season 5, we had no idea what we were going to do. In fact, we started off by just laying down a bunch of this beautiful grey concrete powder over the island. This is, of course, a Mooshroom Island, and that means that there's no mob spawns around here, which is awesome. But at the same time, we had to clear away a ridiculous amount of mycelium. I said, no, there's no mob spawns, and then a zombie spawns. Good job there, zombie, messing up my base tour, you stupid green idiot. There must be a little bit of ocean biome around here or something. Anyway, that is the concept for our base. It is a computer motherboard powered by the Nether, and it is, of course, connected up by tracer lines of uranium. Now, we're going to be kicking things off, I suppose, on this base tour by going from left to right, I suppose. That'll probably be the most efficient way to get around the base. There's lots and lots of different things to look at, so I think we should do this one at a time so that we can get a good, solid understanding of how the base works and how all of these components over here are functioning. So let's start with our very first big factory build over here, which is the dye factory. And it's very simple, this factory. It is supposed to produce orange concrete. This base is made up of thousands of blocks of orange concrete, and as the season progressed, I wanted to find a very easy way to produce the dye that was required to make all of this orange concrete. And I set up a little bit of a redstone factory over here. We've got a sunflower over here and a rose over here, and these shulker boxes deliver bone meal into each of the flowers, and then the bone meal is fed into those flowers automatically, and the flowers that come out of the sunflower and the rose are collected in the shulker boxes below, and then we turn the red and the yellow into orange, and we put all the orange dye into this center shulker box, which actually delivers all of the orange dye to a storage facility, which we're going to take a look at in a moment. So that's our dye factory for the base, which has been supplying, well, half of the materials really for the base. It's been pretty useful. This little thing over here, by the way, is just a sort of aesthetic upgrade. We've added a few of these to our major component builds. This is kind of like a battery storing that power in a uranium cell. And this battery is powering this factory over here. And it's more just to fill in a little bit of space on the base, just try to make it look a little bit better. And trying to make it look a little bit more busy around the base. We're going to get to these massive buildings in a second. Still loads to see. Let's carry on going on a circle over here. I guess next up on the tour, if you look to the left, is the first major building that we made in the season. This is known as Storage Module Alpha, and basically this was a giant storage facility, and we can actually look up the center here and see all of the chests. Unfortunately, this was my first major derp in this base build, as I built chests directly beneath solid black concrete blocks, so those chests can't actually open, which means this storage facility is essentially flawed, and we're going to change the storage facility into something else. But this was the very first build that we made here in our base, and in fact, this was the build that inspired the design for the rest of our base. We started to this was the first time that we came up with this sort of style, using the orange and the black concrete and the glass and sort of making it look a little bit like a computer component. In fact, I think before we built this thing, we didn't even know that we were making a motherboard base. This is the building that inspired the design for the Netherboard, which is kind of cool. That's where it all began. Now, if you look to your right, we can see what was our third storage facility that we created on this base, and this is a very, very special storage facility, and one that I'm extremely proud of. We've got 4 cells over here in this storage facility, which is known as Storage Module Gamma, and these cells are item elevators. And these item elevators are receiving items from some of the factories that we have set up here on the base, and those items are being sent down into the heart of Storage Module Gamma and stored in these shulker boxes. In this particular storage facility, we store gunpowder, we store bone meal, we store the orange concrete, the orange dye coming from the dye factory, and we also store some ink sacks over here, which I think we've actually got quite a lot of at the moment. Yeah, very, very nice. Now, where are all of these items coming from? That's the very interesting thing about this base. When we started working on the structure of the base and exactly what this base was going to do, we decided to try and automate the production of as many different materials in Minecraft as possible, with the goal of collecting a double chest of all of the reasonable items in Minecraft, which is our second major goal for Season 5. And all of those items that we've been collecting over the season are being stored in that giant thing back there, which we're going to take a look at in a little moment. Now, let's talk a little bit about the factories that are producing all of these items that we are storing in Storage Module Gamma. These 2 modules over here are known as the paper processing units, and they are indeed a very simple sugarcane farms. The sugarcane grows, an observer block sees the sugarcane, triggers the pistons, and that sugarcane is harvested and collected via these collection tunnels over here. And these collection tunnels send that sugarcane via another item aqueduct into our third storage facility on the base. Now, what we wanted to do here with the blue instead of the orange is try to identify a pipe on our netherboard or on our motherboard that transports items, right? We wanted to try get a little bit more color into the base, and this was a really great way to do it. So the orange traces, or the orange lines, represent the transfer of power, and the blue lines represent the transfer of items, right? Now, let's continue on our journey. The paper processing units are awesome. Very simple farms for sugarcane. This thing over here is the USB stick that's plugged into the motherboard. And this was originally going to be our bedroom on the base, but it turned out we didn't have enough space, and instead now it's basically just a giant billboard showing any hermit that flies past here that this is the ReNDoG base, which I think turned out pretty cool. And if we continue on the tracer line in this direction, we see a rather interesting little structure over here. This is a virus containment unit, and the virus that this containment unit is containing, I guess, is a giant snot ball of Iskalium. This meteorite was a prank that ISKALL-85 did during a live stream about 6 months ago or so, and the idea was a giant Iskalium meteor had crashed into the netherboard, and unfortunately, that giant meteor has infected our base with the virus. We have managed to contain the virus over here, but unfortunately it has spread a little bit to a part of our base, and we've not managed to contain that virus just yet. But we'll get to those 3 things in a second. So this is more of an aesthetic upgrade, I suppose, to the base rather than anything else. Now, let's continue on our tour in this direction to one of my favorite parts of the Netherboard base, and that is known as the Von Butts Industrial Park. We've got a couple of very interesting factories over here to have a look at. This, by the way, is our quest board. This is where we're trying to keep track of all the things that we need to do in the series. Not exactly the most amazing and exciting build, but this board, and of course this thing over here, which is the map that we looked at of our base a little bit earlier on in the episode. Probably 2 of the most simple things that we've got in the base. But this is the Von Butts Industrial Park. One of my favorite parts of the base, for a number of reasons. Number one, it's actually quite a technical build that I've managed to do out here. We've got a couple of villager factories which are working extremely well. This one over here produces wheat and seeds. Hello there. And that is actually a named villager. These are the Von Butts, is their surname. And they have been trapped and enslaved in the Von Butts Industrial Park. And they are here to collect beetroot and beetroot seeds for eternity. Looks like something might have gone wrong with this particular one. It doesn't look like the beetroot is being collected. I think the minecart underneath this has stopped, so I'm going to have to fix that at some point. But yeah, this is a beetroot and wheat farm, and this one on this side, can we get stuck in the glass there? No, we can't. Okay, let's try do a little bit of a flyby. This one up here is collecting potatoes and carrots. The villagers are using villager mechanics to harvest potatoes and carrots forever, and those potatoes and carrots are being collected by hopper minecarts and so on, and all of those different crops are being delivered into our third storage facility over here, which is known as Storage Module Beta, because it was the second storage module that we created here on the base. Before we get into that though, I want to show you this final factory here in the Von Butts Industrial Park. This is known as the Mooshroom-O-MATIC. And as I mentioned at the start of the tour, we live on a Mooshroom Island. And that means we can spawn a bunch of mushrooms, and that means we can farm a bunch of mushrooms. And this is a mushroom factory that I kind of designed myself after watching a lot of mushroom factory designs on YouTube. And essentially how this works is that mushrooms spawn at the very bottom of this particular facility, and they spawn on these mycelium platforms. Let's actually get down here because it's kind of cool to be down here. They spawn on these mycelium platforms, and when they spawn, they trigger these pistons to release water, and the water flushes them off the platforms into a kill zone. Down there, they burn on fire that is on top of magma cubes, and there are hopper minecarts pushed into those magma cubes, which collects the steak and the leather from the mushrooms that actually spawn here and are murdered. Unfortunately, this farm isn't very efficient on the Hermitcraft server because a lot of hermits are living on Mooshroom Islands right now, so the spawn rates of mushrooms is actually pretty low, unfortunately. But this farm has fed us for quite a few months now on the Hermitcraft server, so I'm kind of happy about it, and I really love the way that it turned out. I think it looks absolutely amazing. Now, that leather and that steak is actually sent up an item elevator, which comes all the way up here and then joins this item delivery pipe, which is blue, exactly the same as the sugarcane pipe is blue too. And all of that steak and leather are delivered into Storage Module Beta. And we get into Storage Module Beta via this little subway station, I suppose it should be called. And this subway station takes us all the way down into this storage facility, and this storage facility is collecting everything that the Von Butts Industrial Park is producing. And as you can see, all of the items that those factories are making, they eventually end up here, and they fall down this water stream, and they come up another item elevator into a little bit of a technical build that I invented. This is known as the REN splitter, and this is a way to randomly make an item go in a different direction. So if you're trying to sort items randomly, this is what we did. This is what you can do. You can have an item elevator sending items to the top, and at the top of the item elevator, you've got a slab with water sources on each side, and the item chooses to go in a random direction. And the reason that we installed that is because we wanted to see the items traveling on these pipes over here, which should actually be blue. Now that I think about it, this pipe should probably be blue. Maybe we'll make that adjustment at some point before the end of the season. Anyway, we can see all of those items coming in here, and in this storage facility, we are storing seeds, beetroot seeds, wheat, and beetroot. We're also storing carrots, potatoes, sugarcane, steaks, and leather. And all of this has helped us to achieve our task of trying to collect a double chest of all the items in Minecraft. We've managed to collect a double chest of all of these items thanks to these automatic factories that have been producing these things. Really nice to see that the Von Butts Industrial Park is still producing also. Very, very cool. Now, this is going to help us actually get to the next part of our tour, which is one of my favorite things on the base too. Wait, hang on, this is the wrong pipe. And one of the most useful factories that we've actually got here on our base. We actually created a little bit of a subway station or a subway network underneath the base. You can see that these uranium tunnels are underground, and these uranium tunnels are supposed to be linking up the base in an underground tunnel network, which is pretty awesome. But if we go this way, we arrive at a pretty cool part of the base, which is the underwater uranium tracer. This runs underneath the lake that is in the middle of our base, and this takes us in various directions. This tunnel will take us back toward the NETHERCOOL 3000 and towards Storage Module Alpha. But if we follow this tunnel over here to this area, we arrive at our skeleton spawner farm. And this is a single skeleton spawner that we discovered underneath our Mooshroom Island, and we have turned this into a bone meal farm. And this has actually been one of the most useful farms on the base because, of course, bone meal has gone a long way to help me create a lot of flowers in the dye shop, right? So all the bone meal that we create here is used in the dye factory, and we use the bone meal to create a bunch of trees and stuff too. And essentially, those skeletons spawn down there. They get flushed and lifted up a mob elevator, excuse me, and they are delivered into this killing chamber where we kill them. And then all of their items are collected by these hoppers, sent into a very long item aqueduct, which sends all of those items into storage module Gamma over there for storage in those shulker boxes. So a pretty awesome farm, and kind of an intricate farm that's connected to the base in a very interesting way. And if we come out here, we can get a nice good look at it from the outside. We should see a couple of skeletons going up there. Yeah, there they go. So they get mob elevated all the way up to the top, and then they drop 21 blocks, I think it is, to take almost maximum damage so that we can kill them with one hit at the bottom. So this is known as the SKELEBYTE processing unit, and I kind of like that one. That was a name that one of the viewers invented, the SKELEBYTE processing unit, which I think is really sweet. Now, these three pylons over here are giant storage battery capacitors for the Netherboard, and one of them has been infected with the ANTI-ISKALL-VIRUS, which I think is really cool. I was going to fix that, but I actually quite like that. I think that looks pretty sweet, man. So yeah, we've kind of got to the end of this loop, I suppose, of the tour. We've got to the SKELEBYTE processing unit, and I suppose we should at this point talk about this massive CPU cooling unit in the center of our base. And that's exactly what we sort of designed this thing to look like. Try to make it look like a huge sort of cooling system. And this thing does something very interesting. Let me sleep the night away from Mumbo real quick and we'll get back on our tour. This is kind of awkward, but can somebody wake up the guy that's fallen asleep at the back of the bus? We're on a freaking base tour. I mean, seriously, guys. Jeez, how rude. Anyway, guys, welcome back. Let's continue on the tour of the Netherboard. And we're talking about this giant CPU cooling mechanism over here. This is one of the most important factories on our base for Hermitcraft Season 5, and it's one of the most simple factories that we've got too. This is, well, it's a creeper spawner, essentially. Inside of that massive, facility, I guess, we have got a whole bunch of platforms with trapdoors above them, and those platforms are passively spawning creepers. Those creepers have fallen down this tube, and they are dying due to entity cramming, and all the TNT coming out of those creeper butts is being collected by an item aqueduct underground and stored in storage module Gamma over there. And TNT is one of the most important items that any hermit can have during a Hermitcraft season. And that's because TNT is used to make these wonderful things that I've got in my paw, the rocket. And of course, with an elytra, that means that we get to fly around on the Hermitcraft server, and that helps me travel around the server, and it also helps me get around my massive base much quicker than running along the ground, and it certainly has helped us be able to achieve what we've achieved here in Season 5, which is a massive base of awesomeness. And without these creepers and without this TNT, none of this could have been possible. So that's one of the most important farms that we've got on the server, and also one of the earliest farms that we created. The original idea was to turn it into a dark room mob spawner, but that turned out not to be very useful, and now it's ridiculously useful. Speaking of useful, we've got a very interesting factory right in the middle of our lake over here. Let's have a look. Can I do this without freaking derping right now? I want to try get on top of this glass with an ender pearl. There we go. This is our squid farm. I'm not sure if you can actually see down into the water over here, but we've got some guardians down there, and yep, there he is. He's just surfaced. Hello, guardian. I'm just looking. Don't mind me. He's clearly upset that I've come and poked my head into his house. But in this giant glass chamber over here, we got a bunch of guardians floating around, and let's put on our helmet over here so that we can see inside. And inside of this giant aquarium, squids are spawning, of course. And those guardians are killing those squids. There's about 4 guardians in there. They have been name tagged so that they don't despawn. And they're killing those squids, and all of that squid juice. I'm about to say ink juice, which is one of the weirdest things that I think any human could say. All of that ink juice is being collected by a hopper minecart underneath the squid farm, and that ink is being delivered into storage module Gamma over here via one of these item elevators over here. I think it might be this one over here. All of that ink sort of ends up here, goes into these hoppers, and then is stored in those shulker boxes that I showed you in storage module Gamma. So that's kind of awesome. We've got a creeper farm, we've got a skeleton farm, and we got a squid farm. We've got a crop farm, we've got a steak farm, we got a paper farm, and we got a dye farm. Those are all of the components of the netherboard that we have right now. On this side of the base, there's a couple more components that we're going to take a look at in a moment. But before we get to those, guys, we need to take a look at one of my most technically impressive builds on the Hermitcraft 5 server. Not only on this server, but in fact, ever. For me as a Minecraft player. This thing over here is known as the DOOMSMELTER, and this is by far the most technical thing that I've ever made in Minecraft, and one of the things that I'm most proud of on the server, especially considering this really pushed my redstone knowledge and my redstone skills to the test, and I've actually created something quite special here. This component of the netherboard helped to boost us into the industrial revolution on the Hermitcraft server. This thing has helped us get to where we are right now. And without it, we would be so far behind, because this facility, the DOOMSMELTER, is an automatic furnace smelting facility of doom and destruction. Here's how it works. Whatever we want to smelt, we stick into these chests. Everything that we want to smelt is then sent up this item elevator via these item channels and delivered into an array of furnaces that go all the way around the DOOMSMELTER. You can see all of these furnaces. I think there's about 64 furnaces in this auto smelting facility. And of course, as the items go into the system, everything is then automatically managed. All of the items are delivered into these furnaces via an item loading mechanism, which we can have a look at back here. So as you can see, all of those items travel along this item tube and are delivered into this loading mechanism, which loads up this hopper minecart. This hopper minecart then travels around and around, delivering those items for smelting into the furnaces. But there's also a little bit of a smart circuit in here. This minecart will not return back to its loading bay until it has delivered all of the items into the DOOMSMELTER. On top of that, this hopper minecart will go into delivery mode when it is full up of items, or when the system has run out of items to deliver. So the system is completely automated. All that we need to do if we want to smelt stuff is stick it in that chest, and then we can literally go away and come back a few minutes later, and everything will be smelted and collected. The same for this side. This hopper minecart over here delivers fuel into the DOOMSMELTER. So at the moment, the DOOMSMELTER is full of blaze rods, I think. And if we want to deliver, coal or blaze rods or logs or whatever into our furnaces, we do it using this hopper minecart over here. But of course, that too is automated, because we've got two inputs for the DOOMSMELTER. We've got the item input and we've got the fuel input, which sits over here, right? So all the fuel that we want to add into the DOOMSMELTER, we simply pop into these chests and it's automatically delivered and added into those furnaces. Underneath the DOOMSMELTER, we have got a very simple looking storage facility over here, but I assure you there is nothing simple about this. Azumavoid actually set this up for us, and essentially what this is doing is isolating the most important things that we are smelting here, which is glass, cracked stone, because for another project that we're working on, and a smooth stone over here. And if we just pop our heads into the back of the DOOMSMELTER, you can see all the redstone back here. And essentially what Azuma set up for us over here is a system that is automatically sorting all of the items being smelted in the DOOMSMELTER. The important items are being collected in shulker boxes over here, which is really cool. When the shulker box is full, it gets destroyed and collected in this chest. So when we want to smelt down a whole bunch of stuff, we simply load the DOOMSMELTER, come back half an hour later, and boom, we got a whole bunch of shulker boxes full of the stuff that we need in these chests. These are the overflow chests, which are collecting everything else that we can smelt here in the DOOMSMELTER. And overall, this is one of the most impressive things for me anyway that I've ever created. Of course, Azuma helped me out with that storage facility underneath it, but it's all come together into an incredibly efficient and awesome looking auto smelting facility, and super proud of that one, man. One of my favorite things that I've ever created, and one of the things that makes me think when I look at it, how the freaking heck did I actually do that? Did my brain make this? It doesn't make any sense. If you know me for a very long time, guys, it doesn't make any sense that ReNDoG was be able to create something as technical as this, but the DOOMSMELTER, man, one awesome bit of kit and one of the most technical components here on the Netherboard. Now, let's take ourselves into the last part of today's tour, which is going to be into the newest area of our base. We've very recently started working on this side of the Netherboard, and we've started to run out of space, in fact, on our base. And this is the last of the real estate that's really available to us here on our Mooshroom Island, which is kind of interesting. And what we've tried to do is cram some very interesting factories into this side of the base. Let's start all the way up here on this little level. This is one of our most recent builds that we've been working on here on the Netherboard. This is a nether wart factory, and it's very, very simple. I mean, nether wart grows on soul sand, so what we do is we plant soul sand down these greenhouse tubes, and we simply hit this button over here, and what will happen is water will flush all of that nether wart down the greenhouse tubes, and that nether wart will be collected all the way at the end of the tunnels, and this water will eventually get sucked back in automatically. And all of that nether wart is going to be collected and delivered via this item delivery pipe into what is going to become another storage facility over here. As I say, this is one of our most recent projects that we've just started working on. And we're only doing this, of course, to complete our task of collecting all of the items in Minecraft. And nether wart goes a long way to helping us do that. So there goes all the nether wart. Beautiful. That's going to take us into this section over here and into the NetherGreen TI. By the way, this is known as the Wart Port. By the way, that's the name of that component on the Netherboard. And next to the Wart Port is the NetherGreen TI, which, if you haven't guessed already, is a giant cactus factory, and a very simple one at that. We've got a bunch of cactuses planted around a solid block of glass, and when the cactus grows, that block of glass breaks the cactus falls down into water collection aqueducts, and those water collection aqueducts send the cactus via this item pipe. We can see a bit of cactus going there actually into what is going to become another storage facility over here. So on this corner of the Netherboard, we are farming nether wart and we are farming cactus, and of course cactus is super important for us in this series because from cactus we get cactus green, and from cactus green we get lime, and those two colors allow us to make a bunch of different items like colored wool, colored clay, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And of course that is going to help us achieve our goal of collecting all of these items in Minecraft that we're trying to collect. And I guess that takes us to this very giant structure over here, one of our most recent builds on the server too. This is known as the NETHERDRIVE. And the NETHERDRIVE is a very scary facility. Not because it looks scary, but because the inside of it brings fear and a lot of stress to the brains of any Minecraft player on this planet. Let's pop our head in here and have a look at what's going on. We can see a ridiculous amount of chests in here, and if we look up, we can see that that goes all the way up to the top. We've got 54 chests on every single level of the NETHERDRIVE, and there's over 300 chests in this facility, and we are working toward filling every single one of these chests with a double chest worth of items as a part of one of our secondary goals here on the Hermitcraft server. We can see that when we have filled up one of the chests, we put an item frame on it with the item to show that it's been filled up, and we're going to try and get as many of these chests filled before the end of Season 5. The NETHERDRIVE is representing, I suppose, a hard drive of sorts, and inside of the NETHERDRIVE, it's in a sort of circular fashion, just like you have in a hard drive, and that goes all the way up. We've got a whole bunch of, I guess, CDs that go all the way up the center of the NETHERDRIVE, and each of those CDs has 54 kilobytes worth of space, I guess, the kilobytes being the chests, I suppose, and this is what is driving our massive project to collect all of these items in Minecraft. So pretty awesome, pretty awesome. It goes all the way up to the top. We still got a little bit of work to do on this particular facility. We want to install a roof onto it because we currently don't have a roof up here, and that's one last thing that I need to do. But yeah, that's basically what we've been doing here with this NETHERDRIVE project, and I think it's turned out really, really awesome. I love the way that the building looks from the outside. I love these traces of uranium running up it. I love the way that it looks. I think it looks pretty badass. It kind of looks like a giant external hard drive of some kind, which was exactly the idea when I set it up. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the tour of the NETHERDRIVE for today. I do hope you have enjoyed your time on the cyber bus. And remember to take all of your personal belongings with you. Also, could somebody please wake that guy up at the back of the bus? He's been sleeping this entire time. And if you could let him know that that is incredibly rude, that would be very much appreciated. Also, there's a tip cup next to the exit of the bus. Do tip generously, considering I'm nothing more than a tour guide. I thank you. Anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed the tour of my base on Hermitcraft Season 5 today. It's been an absolutely amazing project to work on. I've been super happy with how the base has been produced, and none of this would have been possible without the inspiration that you guys have given me during this season of Hermitcraft. A lot of these factories and a lot of these builds that we have created here were inspired by you guys in the comments, and I always appreciate seeing such amazing ideas coming from you guys out there. And like I say, the entire concept for this base, a lot of the things that we've been making were actually made up by you guys in the comments, and I really feel like this season's base was a group effort between you and I, and we managed to create something quite special here. Still lots of work to do, of course, before the end of the season, but as far as my base on the Hermitcraft Season 5 is concerned, I'm very proud. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I would love to see what you guys think about the base and which of these builds that we've had a look at today is your favorite. I would very much like to see that. But guys, I think that's probably going to do it for today. I've still got a little bit of work to do back here. I need to finish off these item collection pipes and start working on a new storage facility over here. So I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for watching, everybody. Once again, apologies about the troll for episode 69. No hard feelings, guys. I was just messing with you. Anyway, that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will smell you all in the next episode.